Hello and welcome to this Health Suppliers segment here on Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Thank you for joining us. Going to talk today to Dr. Robert Rosenberg for SoClean. He's going to talk about the world's first automated CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. It's an innovative device that naturally sanitizes CPAP equipment without the need for disassembly, water, or any other messy chemicals. Welcome to the program, Dr. Rosenberg. How are you?
Thank you, Neil. I'm fine. How are you this morning?
Great, great. Well, how many people are we talking about that use a CPAP machine here in the United States? I know it's in the millions, I'm sure.
Sure. We know that we have about 22 million people with sleep apnea in the United States. Probably 20 to 30% of those have been diagnosed. The majority of those are probably using CPAP machines. There are other forms of therapy for sleep apnea, but certainly CPAP is the most popular and is the one that's covered by almost all insurers and is the first line of therapy for most people with sleep apnea.
And it is a prescribed therapy. You can't just go and get an over-the-counter CPAP machine. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Now, CPAP is a prescribed therapy. You need to be studied either with home sleep testing or an in-lab study, and then under ideal circumstances, you are titrated in the laboratory by a board-certified technician in a laboratory run by someone like myself, a board-certified sleep doctor, who then interprets the study and makes sure that the proper pressure and the proper application of the machine is the one for you.
Now, a lot of people that get CPAP machines complain about, they're bulky, they inhibit sleep even more than their sleep apnea seems to inhibit their sleep. What have you been told about CPAP machines in your career?
Well, we have patients who come to my facility and see me in consultation, and when I tell them that they have sleep apnea, if they've already been tested, or if they come back to see me after being tested, a lot of them are resistant at first because of what they've been told by, quote, their friends. And there is about a 65% compliance rate. However, in some facilities, such as mine, and in some others, we work with patients diligently. We can get that up to about 80 to 85%. I also tell them that the new machines are not bulky. They're very portable. In fact, there are CPAPs which you can buy that are actually travel CPAPs that are the size of a Dixie cup. They're not covered by most insurers, however, but some of my patients buy them anyway. But the machines are quiet. They're nothing like the ones out 15, 20 years ago. They're auto-adjustable, meaning the pressures can go up and down based upon the status of your throat at the moment and your airway. So they're much more comfortable for the patients. They're not exposed to a constant high pressure or set pressure. And I find in most cases we can get them compliant with the CPAP, and that most of what I've heard, they'll come back and see us and say, that just wasn't so. It's nothing like I was told by my friends, some of whom have much older machines.
So once the disillusionment about size and bulkiness, were those the only concerns that a person using a CPAP voiced? Well,
they were also concerned about infection. So there are some studies. One published in Respiration in 2001. It showed that patients who used CPAP had a higher incidence of upper respiratory infections when followed over about a 165-month period of time, about twice as high as those with sleep apnea who chose not to be treated or were not treated at all. Of course, there was a recent study showing the incidence of pneumonia may be as high as 30% higher in people with sleep apnea. Overall, about 20%, but 30% in those who use CPAP. But as I tell the patients, with proper cleaning, and especially when you use something like SoClean, which came out in the last few years, we find that the incidence of infection is far less, and people are relieved to know that there's a convenient way of cleaning their machine that will not require a lot of time, and really is quite simple.
So let's talk about SoClean. I mean, seeing as how infection can happen, let's talk about how SoClean minimizes the instance of infection and about how convenient it is for the user.
Right. SoClean is basically ozone or activated oxygen, and it is attached to, in part, to the humidifier of the machine, which is simple. It's all done with a hose. It takes no more than a minute or two to set it up. You set the timer. It usually runs for about 5 to 10 minutes. You don't have to be watching it. You need to allow about 2 hours after cleaning before you can utilize the mask or the machine, which is not an issue. You can even set the SoClean for the time of day you want it to go on and off. But the ozone or the activated oxygen really is 99% effective as a germicidal, including mold as well as bacteria and viruses. And it's what the beauty of it is, it gets into all the nooks and crannies of the hoses, of the mask, of the humidification system, which we believe is a major breeding grounds for infection. Because a lot of people don't, either they leave the water in there, they don't change their water regularly, or they just have some residual water that's left in there, and that can be a breeding ground for infection. But with the ozone, it gets into all the nooks and crannies and sterilizes it irregardless, and it's much more efficient than using soap and water and pads and things such as that, or vinegar and water, which in the old days, that's what I told my patients to use. But with the advent of SoClean, if they get one, that's not necessary.
Wow. So it's not even necessary to use the old school cleaning method. That sounds great. Give us a website where we can go and learn some more about SoClean.
Well, sure. There is a www.SoClean that you can get on their website on the internet, and it has videos that show you how to use it. Mm-hmm. It has videos and they also have information about a lot of what I'm talking about how the rate of infection and how germicidal it is, and how easy it is to use. So it's quite available to the consumer, and I do recommend it to my patients because of its utility and its effectiveness.
Now, this is not only, as you say, getting into the nooks and crannies of the hosing. It also deals with, I guess, the residual skin from your face, some of the oils that people put on their face before they go to bed, all of these things that can build up and contribute to infections and other discomfort, not just the mold and things that could build up because of standing water that isn't changed out. Correct.
It is effective. I tell some of my patients, at least to use a CPAP wipe occasionally on the mask, and of course, change their cushions and their masks. The cushions should be changed about every 30 days. The mask, the total whole mask, should be changed about every 3 months, and most insurers will do that, and the hoses should be changed every month, and most people who are on CPAP get those in the mail from their durable medical equipment company. But in the interim, the ozone is extraordinarily effective in dealing with those particles and those areas that it would be very difficult to alleviate otherwise.
Well, Dr. Rosenberg, I thank you for coming in and telling us all about SoClean today. It's been a pleasure, and I'm hoping to talk with you again in the future.
Thank you, Neil. It's been my pleasure as well. You have a good day.
You do the same. You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. On this Health Supplier segment, transcripts and audio of this conversation with Dr. Robert Rosenberg are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, listen in, and download at SoundCloud. And be sure and visit our affiliates page at hpr.fm.
Thank you for listening to Health Professional Radio. We're very proud to be an independent broadcaster providing our content free of charge to you, the listener. One of the ways that we're able to remain free and independent is by having people like you become patrons. You can support Health Professional Radio simply by visiting hpr.fm and clicking the button that says Become a Patron. Your patronage of even just $1 a month lets us know that you're there, which in turn makes us more valuable to advertisers. And, of course, if you're able to afford more, then we would certainly appreciate the support. My name is Toby Longhurst from Health Professional Radio. Please visit hpr.fm, click the Become a Patron button, and support us if you can.